So what we're going to do this time is we're actually going to have our speaker speak first because she is tired. It is 9 o'clock at night for her, and she stayed up all day to come and speak with us. So we're going to give her an opportunity to speak first, and then hopefully have some time for questions. And then afterwards, we'll do a little bit of fun club reminders and all the other stuff we do. But without further ado, one thing I do want to show you real quick, I'm sorry, I do have to share my screen one more time, is we were lucky enough that Carly was able to put this onto our website for us, and I just want everyone to see what she did. She added this, if you can see right here, this donate today for the Carol Adams Fund. So if you know anyone interested, or if you want to make sure that you get your donations in, this is where we can put our Carol Adams donations on from now on, okay, like we normally do in our meetings. So thank you, Carly, for making that happen. And without further ado, before Carol runs away from us, we're gonna let her speak. Thank you so much, Carol Adams, for speaking to us from Uganda.
Thank you so much for having me. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks for having me. It's really exciting to be talking to people back in Maui, my home, Maui, where I lived for 20 years. I was running the Makalani Stables in Makawao up Olinda Road in 1995. I felt a calling to be doing something more in the world than just training horses, teaching kids riding and such. And I felt a strong calling from the Lord that there was children in Africa that needed me. That was kind of a broad, unusual calling. I didn't normally get those kind of thoughts, but it was there. So I started applying to all the mission agencies around, and nobody wanted me. I've only high school education. They certainly don't need horse trainers here. And I was just told I was not needed, couldn't be used in any place in Africa when I had applied with African Inland Missions and Liebenzell and many of them. But then a friend had gone to Oahu, where she met a singing group called the Limit X. They were from Uganda, and they said they needed somebody to help an orphanage. So on December 28th, I was on a plane heading for Uganda to, I thought, work at an orphanage with the Limit X people. It was a long flight and a bit of a scary flight. While I'm in air, I'm thinking, oh my, what am I doing? It was a bit startling to myself. I got to Uganda and met up with the Limit X boys at the same time. And we were taking these small taxis from the airport into the city, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hour ride, depending on the traffic. I'm looking out the window and feeling amazed. I had never traveled. I had never seen a developing country. I had never seen a lot of what I was seeing just out the window going into the city. Spent the next days in the city going to the concert the Limit X was holding. And I had a terrific, terrible flu, so I was quite sick at the time. But again, I was overwhelmed. Kampala it was 1996 by then, January. Kampala back then was not as modern as it is now. Now, it's still not modern by what you people would call modern in the developed world, but it's much better. But after several days there with the Limit X, we drove out to the orphanage I was supposed to run. They saw Mzungu, white person, Holly, same thing. They saw Mzungu and thought they saw money. So the people that owned that place said, oh, you want to run the orphanage here? It will cost you $1,500 a month. I came with only the money I had saved, not a whole lot of money in the bank. And there's no way I could pay that. So anyhow, after that, the Limit X got on the plane and left. I was in Kampala, Uganda, without knowing anybody, alone in a guest house, wondering what the next steps would be. After 10 days there, I was invited by somebody that was part of the Limit X, Rose Masoki, to come meet her friends in a Bible study in Kono. There, I was introduced to a man named Simeon who ran a boys' home in Makono, Bessania Boys' Home. I was invited to then come stay at Bessania till I knew where I was to be. From Bessania, I met a young Anglican Church of Uganda priest, and I came to Fort Portal with him. I trusted him, and he said he wanted to help orphans and widows. I was brand new in Uganda, way too trusting of people, especially that they saw the white person as the rich person. Fort Portal barely had any white people. There was a couple of Catholic sisters and a couple of Catholic fathers, but other than that, no Haole Mzungu out there at all. But I found out quite quickly that this man wasn't the person I wanted to work with. And by then I had gotten to know the bishop of the Church of Uganda. So he invited me to start a child care outreach through the Church of Uganda. So that I did, and started building up things, started getting to know people. Didn't have any such thing as emails or internet or anything like that. Didn't even have telephones yet. We got the first radio back after I'd been there for about a year. So we were really out in the bush out there in Fort Portal. But I was getting to know people, beginning to learn what was what, beginning to feel more at home, and loving the people. I worked under the Church of Uganda until 2004 when U.S. ordained a gay bishop. Uganda is extremely homophobic. I could see the handwriting on the wall that I might have trouble, and I thought I better form an NGO, non-government organization, and leave the church because it was going to be problems. Well, there were. The bishop called me in and said he wouldn't allow me to take any more sinful American money. I asked him, are you going to let orphans and children suffer through theological differences? He said, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. I said, well, sir, you elephants are going to continue fighting as I see it, so I think I'd better transplant my grass. And I formed the Youth Encouragement Services, or the Y.E.S Uganda. And that's where I've been ever since, building it up, one miracle from God after another. I never planned on developing what has been developed, but things kept happening. My brother passed away, left me a fair amount of money. I bought the land and built a hostel, and this apartment I'm sitting in right now. And downstairs from where I'm sitting is a 56-bed hostel that before COVID, I used to raise money to help my program going. And I also got some very large donations from Ireland. And with that, I built a home for HIV positive children, because a lot of kids with AIDS were just basically thrown out and trying to survive on their own. So that's the Monarch Rescue Home that I built onto where I had been living. And then I moved myself into this apartment. And even now we're finishing building a large vocational center that I don't even think I'm talking about in these photos, but I'll see, because it's still not quite rolling yet, but it's going to be happening. So it's been an amazing journey and a wonderful journey. Ugandans have taught me a lot of wonderful things. They're loving, wonderful people, or they're horrible thieves, one or the other. I've run into both for sure. I've been in many situations. I've been arrested and thrown in jail. I've had a gun at my head. I've lived through a war where bombs were falling around me, the ADF war, back in the early 2000s. I've lived through Ebola. It's been a journey for sure, but it's a journey I'm thankful every day that I'm here. So perhaps now, Lynette, should we start showing some of the photos? I can't hear you. You're turned off over here. Anyway, I see this is my logo for my youth encouragement services, giving youth hope with God's love. Next. Can we go next?
Just like I told you, my technique isn't quite as good as it should be, so I'll keep trying. Oh, there we go.
Okay, that's just the parking lot of the upper section. We're built on a hill. So, okay, now that's the lower section of the hostel. And that's a bunch of tourists that came in good days before COVID. The upper section was my hostel. Okay, that's the house I'm in. I'm sitting in a chair looking at this right now as I talk. But it's nighttime here. This is the deck where I can sit in the good weather and look outside. It's downstairs, little kitchenette and such. Okay. This is the view I get from my deck. Those are the Missouri Mountains that are very, very large mountains. I myself are up at 5,000 feet. Can we get next? Okay, that's how I spend a good deal of my time, behind the computer. That's where I do food shopping, clothes shopping, any kind of shopping. It's called a marketplace. In the rain, it can get pretty yucky, but that's where I shop. This is the Church of Uganda Cathedral, built by the British during colonialization times. Beautiful church. Holds about 1,000 people. Church of Uganda still. There's the inside of it. It's a lovely old church. It's a family begging for help. We get the people coming all the time begging for help. An old lady with all her orphan grandchildren. Typical of what we help handle. This is a child-headed family. The man on the right is my field officer, myself. These kids are alone. Their parents have both died, and they're just growing alone. We built them a house because their mud house was about to fall over. It's another family having Christmas dinner. A large group, 29 kids living in one house with their grandmother, all orphaned kids. Orphan family, again, child-headed, no adults, children raising children. Another larger family, I'm bringing some food because they can't always get enough food. This is school lunches, posho and beans. We buy lunches for all our children because many don't get breakfast, and if they don't get lunch, they'll get one meal a day. We also have an agriculturalist teach proper agriculture to a lot of the ladies who are caregivers of our orphans. I have 280 kids, by the way. Next. More of agricultural training, how to grow things on hillsides and such. This is an elderly grandmother that's been taught. Those are some large cabbages. We also have our kids learning many vocations if they don't have the good skills in academics, learning carpentry. This young man broke his upper thigh. He's in a room that you really can't tell how bad it is, but we have to provide the bedding, the mattress and everything when we bring somebody to a hospital. And the room was just filled with junk behind. It was really a messy room. And he had a severely broken leg, but he's doing well now. He's in university now.
Wow.
This is the typical roads I'm driving in the rainy season. It's a good thing I have four-wheel drive on my vehicle because those are going to get pretty hard to get through some of this muck. Getting back up the hill was worse. Another road, and I didn't realize until I saw it tonight that my uh-oh expression in the mirror there, because that road gets very, very narrow and it drops off on both sides by about 20 to 30 feet. Okay. Another road going to visit a home. Okay, Mana Rescue Home is a home I told you we built for the children with AIDS. God holds them in his hand. Okay. This Mana Rescue Home is built behind the house I lived in Kasusu. Next. Okay, this is a little child we took to the home. These two were living alone under a fallen down house. The older boy was taking care of the little girl. They both had AIDS. And they had nobody at all. That's our medicine cabinet for our kids at the rescue home. Built by one of our carpenters, by the way. The kids come dragging me off to show me what they have been doing, some kind of artwork they were doing. Next. We have a large area where they can play, kicking the football. Soccer here is called football, by the way. Okay. Okay, the kid in the classroom. The school books behind were donated by a Rotary Club from UK.
Cool.
We also had a church in California, the St. John's Episcopal Church, donate musical instruments, and our kids really, really enjoy learning to play and marching in parades and everything. It's a good activity for our kids. Gives them a lot of self-confidence. There they are with the uniforms we had made. 3 of our little girls, our silly kids. Girls shave their heads just like boys. A bunch of my graduated kids threw me a party one day. These are all grown people that have graduated from my Y.E.S program and are now out in the world with different jobs.
That's cool.
Christopher Otakeka Helms is quite well known. If you Google him, he's quite famous in USA. He's won many awards. I can't think of the names of them, but he's one boy I'm very, very proud of. Christopher Otakeka Helms. He made this ambulance that is carried by small motorcycles that can go deep into the villages and bring people in. So an Irish man visiting was there looking it over with me, and I'm trying out the ambulance. He also donated these vans. He put solar on top, so they had all kinds of equipment inside that goes deep into villages where they don't have any health clinics or hospitals. He donated about 10 of those around the country. This is Christopher Helms again, giving back to his country. One of our graduate boys who had he was handicapped, severely handicapped, but he wasn't going to let that turn him into a beggar. He became a lab technician. He has a good job at the hospital now. Another one of my boys who's Dr. Gilbert Otakeka. He is my accountant. I had him since he was a primary 4 kid. That's like grade 4. He's a good man. This is Dr. Moses, who is, I had him and raised him in my house from 1996 on. He's now the head surgeon in a hospital in the city. In fact, I had to see him last week because I've got some reasonably major spine problems right now as I talk, but Moses is trying to help me. I got a broken, leaking spinal cord, leaking spinal fluid, which is not fun. Another one, here he is on the left in the red, here he is on the right. He's now a well-known lawyer in Kampala. He was child-headed with his sister in that photo. Those two lived alone, raised each other. Okay, this is in under construction, the vocational center I haven't started, the Amani Missouri Vocational Center. I laid the first brick along with Father Kabura, the priest beside me. Okay, we're going to take a quick tour of the parks right now. This elephants, yeah. Hippos and water buffalo. Elephants, obviously.
Monkeys.
Monkeys in a tree. These are all at Queen Elizabeth Park, these photos. Queen Elizabeth Park lion.
Ooh, crocodile.
That's an alligator, cob, African cob. They're like a little deer.
Oh, look.
Those are hyenas, and they are ferocious. And that's her baby in there. We were in a car. We would not have been safe getting that close to her. Tree lions, very, very comfortable up there, sound asleep. That one's checking us out on the front of our car, looking in the window. Baboon. Those are ugly, really. That's right outside of my house. That's on outside my window. I'm not sure what kind of bird it is, but there's so many around here. I've got to learn the names of them because tourists want to know the names. Another one right outside my window. And if you finalize here with a nice sunset, the mountains behind again.
Nice.
That is that one. And what are you now? I think as you figure out, as Lynette figures out how to put it on, that was kind of a quick overview of what life is like here. And now, okay, that's a strange one to start in the middle of a latrine. That's a latrine being dug.
There we go.
But I don't, that's not part of it. Here we go.
There we go.
Most of our kids live in, most of our kids live in mud houses with an iron roof. It can be built for about 1,500. I'll show you, we'll go through quickly because it might be a bit boring. The houses some of the people live in are not habitable, really. They're really, really bad. So they have to find trees first to cut them down. These are two people we built houses for, by the way. They've now got a new mud house. So that's the start of building a mud house. We have some volunteers from Pearson College helping. That's who those Hollies are. They lay out, they tie reeds onto the poles, just sort of like bamboo, but they're called reeds. Then they make mud by stomping in the mud with water and put the big hunks of mud into the reeds until they can get thick enough, and that's what dries. Once it dries, they're ready to put in the doors and windows. They don't put in glass windows, just wooden shutters, but these are houses ready to get finished. When they get finished, this one is plastered with the cement plaster. The one on the right is plastered with a cow dung plaster. Mostly they use cow dung because people can't afford the cement. The iron walls roof costs enough. These are all houses we have built. This is the house we built for the child-headed family, and there's the latrine and wash area that we made behind it. Okay, that's digging a latrine, and it gets extremely deep. The same man is in the second picture, but you can't really see him. It takes somebody that doesn't have claustrophobia to do that kind of work, and it's got to be done in a dry season because if a wall falls in, it's killed more people. There's some more mud houses of different levels. The one on the right is a cow dung finish. One on left, just some more houses. Typical, these are all where our families live. People expect electricity? No. No electricity, no running water. This is typical houses. So those are where our families live and how it is built. They don't have running water. They have to carry it from the nearest swamp usually. Some people have running water, water pumps nearby where they have at least ground wells and not swamps. But the water situation here can be quite bad. So you're putting on now what, Lynette?
This one.
Okay. Okay. This is strictly on the Mauna Rescue Home, the home for the kids. Here we're coming into the home. We're coming into the Mauna Rescue Home. The kids, all these kids have AIDS. This is the house I lived in for many years before I turned it over for the rescue home to be built. I lived with no running water and no electricity for 8 years. Okay, and this is behind my house. This is the boys' dorm and showers behind at the Mauna Rescue Home. There's the kitchen. That's inside how the cooking is done. Firewood with the stove we made out of the bricks. That's where they're cooking for the kids. This is where the food is prepared, food is stored. That's matoke, the green bananas, and Irish potatoes there. This is our classroom, and this is our head teacher for the school. Our kids have still been in school, even though the lockdown, nobody else has. So our kids are going to get ahead for a change. They're kind of criticized for being behind because of their disease. Now they're getting ahead. Okay.
Oh, nice classroom.
This is the classroom. And again, these are the books donated by the UK Rotary. And this is the classroom. The chairs aren't set down right there. There's gardens we planted. Donations came in for Y.E.S Church in the Big Island. And we were planting what's called urban gardens. These things we can put better dirt in and plant things. More food can grow, and it's giving kids a chance to learn how to plant things. More of the gardens, every one of those sacks have plants getting started. These are onions and such. We put them on tiers and we can get a lot more going because we don't have a very big place. More sacks growing food all the way. And even these are bottles cut in half that we're using to plant things in. This has all just been done. This is our matoke plantation behind. And here is on the right, passion fruit for the kids. These are some of our boys and some of our girls. This was taken this year. We've got 30 kids there, all positive, but all doing so well. And they're so happy now, happy and healthy. That's kind of unfair. I'm looking at this. Girls washing clothes while the boys are playing. So typical. Anyhow. And that's the Mauna Rescue Home where my heart is. I love these kids so much. And I think the last one that Lynette's putting on for me is what's happening to us in the COVID season. Our lockdown, our trouble, and coronavirus has reached us. Many, many people have it now. But early March, all kids were sent home from school. Country was completely locked down. Couldn't even leave my house. Couldn't drive the car any place. The lockdown was total at that point. Okay. At the time of the school closure, the kids at the rescue home stayed at the home. The lists on the right are all kids that are in their extended families and villages that I have. And all those kids were a lot of them were in trouble because there was no way to get food. A lot of hunger was happening. We had to really evaluate our most vulnerable families. At the home, they did okay because people have been extremely generous, helped me feed these kids. The rescue home that you saw earlier, hostel, was what I used to earn money to feed the kids at the rescue home. But obviously, we're completely shut down now. We weren't even allowed to bring in guests for a while. Now we're allowed, but there's nobody out there coming in. The airports have just opened last week. These are some of the families that were vulnerable for food, large families with very few people to take care of them. So we were raising money and bringing food to these families. There's some of the piles of food. This is at the hostel. Some of the older kids could come pick up rice, posho, beans. Others we developed in certain areas where people could meet and get them, because our families extend 30 miles in any direction. And kids obviously can't travel to 30 miles, so we had to have different pickup points to bring food to these families. We've had 4 deliveries so far of food. Others we delivered to the families where they had no way to get out to get to them. And also we needed to check on other issues, health issues and such. Large families, few adults taking care of them. Some houses barely habitable. Okay. I guess we're back to the gardening now at Mana Rescue Home, where they're trying to grow some of their own food to help us in our lockdown and our problems with keeping them fed. It's good for them to struggle a bit too and realize how hard it is to keep food for 30 kids getting food. Here's a bunch of people being trained for agriculture by agriculturists we brought in. This is back at our hostel, and we gave them tools and we delivered seeds to all these people. Today, my field officer was out delivering spray for some of the potato farms that needed spray to keep the insects off. But we're helping them at least grow food, even if they're renting land or having to have small areas. The kids are home from school, they might as well dig the land and do some work. More of the people, these are seeds, potatoes for planting, not for eating. That's a hard one too, when they're very hungry. How do you tell them to plant them instead of eating them? But they've got to think of the future and to stay alive. Most families nowadays are eating 1 meal a day. That's all they can manage, 1 meal a day. It makes me feel guilty sitting here in my comfortable apartment and eating good food all the time. But not eating isn't going to help them. Deliveries went on day and even into the night. It's a good rainy season, and it's been a good season for planting and growing. There's some of the distant families being delivered, having food delivered. Okay. I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's basically my life in a nutshell here. It's a wonderful life. I've got now about 1,800 graduates of the Y.E.S program, doctors, lawyers, nurses, drivers, farmers, mechanics, motor riders, all kinds of things. But I'm so proud of so many of my kids. And they come back to me. I've raised my own lawyer. We had some troubles with having to fire somebody, and my lawyer has stepped in to help. I have some health issues. My doctor's helping. Nothing like raising my own help. So I'm wondering, does anybody have any questions?
If you have a question, just kind of put your hand up or unmute yourself and let Carol know.
Excuse me?
Go ahead, Lynn.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lyman, and then Lynn.
Okay. Carol, where you are, do you have a lot of sun? Have you used solar cooking? Have you done that?
Not really, because it can't be depended on. It can be turned into rain halfway through the day, and it's not really done.
Or this just to augment what you have?
Pardon?
Oh, this
We
just
have
to augment what you, yeah.
we have solar lights. A lot of even these villages now have small little panels and small little lights they bring into the house. They are using that, and even solar flashlights that they keep on. So they're using solar to a certain extent here. But the solar stoves, certain NGOs have moved in, tried to teach them, but it's funny. It's hard teaching these people something new sometimes. They are so set in their ways. It's hard to explain. It's hard to change certain mindsets. It's a slow process, to say the least. I think the hope is in the youth, the young people.
Lynn, you have a question? Wait, you're muted, Lynn.
There we go.
Hello.
Okay. For my first question is, you're at 5,000 feet. Do you have a malaria problem along with AIDS?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I've had the worst malaria you can imagine. I have been so sick sometimes. My body's gotten more used to malaria now, so I don't get as bad as I used to. But yes, malaria is heavy. In the villages, malaria is horrible.
Okay, because I saw no green and yeah.
Well, no, and they're cooking outside. They don't cook in the house. You know, they cook outside under just lean-tos, and they don't really live in houses like we live in houses. The houses are a place to go in and sleep.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, malaria is bad.
And then
it's
You have one more question?
and how can we best help you?
well, obviously, it's always a financial struggle. Obviously, it's a financial struggle.
Yeah.
So there's, as I say, there's a big island church that have just found that we've connected with that has been really helpful with the Mana Rescue Home, because I've been so concerned with this lockdown, keeping enough food to feed 30 HIV positive kids. They get 3 meals a day and snacks in between.
How much does it cost you a month to feed those kids?
I'm trying to, it's running me about 1 million shillings a month, a week. So about 4 million shillings a month. Now, how do I break down? The dollar is coming in at 3,600. Who's good at math there? It's costing me about 4 million a month.
I'll translate it.
Okay, divide 36 into it.
Okay.
I don't have my calculator. I'm in my living room.
I'll do it online and then, but answer other people's questions and I'll get back.
Dick, you had a question?
It's 1,080
Okay.
U.S.
Okay, thank you. I should have had that in my head already, but I'm so used to shillings, I'm forgetting to put it into dollars.
Dick, did you have a question?
Yes, I'm just curious, how do you keep in touch with the outside world?
Like I'm doing right now. Right now with internet, with Facebook, I have a website. I have a lot of emails that go back and forth to the people that are sponsors. People who sponsor kids, I send them photos of their kids. I scan letters that their kids write to them and print out letters they send back. So that's part of my big busyness in my office, keeping up the sponsors' interactions with their students, because I've got about 280 kids and I've got about 200 sponsors. And each sponsor wants to know what's happening all the time. I also write a blog that goes onto the website. So that's about how I keep, and running the hostel, I also got a lot of international connections because people met me when they came in here. So I've got donors from Germany, from Italy, from South Africa, from Chile, from all over the world. People have come to the hostel and like what's happening. So the hostel did double service that I didn't expect. I didn't think about ahead of time.
Candace, you had a question, and then Mike after her.
Yeah, thank you, Carol, for your presentation. It was very informative. And I know Uganda has dealt with in the past a lot of, it's been war-torn from some of the different folks who come in and try to take over, and that child soldiers used to be an issue. Is that resurging now during COVID, or have things still been a little bit better there on the humanitarian side?
The rebel situation is pretty well non-existent right now. Across the border in Congo, there's some pretty heavy things going on, which is just over the mountains from where I'm living. But here, I was in the ADF, the child soldier you're thinking about, and all the stuff you heard about is the LRA in the north. But the ADF never made much news, but it was quite horrific, believe me. And what they're doing it for, who knows? Killing children, killing elderly for no reason. And I lived through that for about 4 years, where families were being attacked, refugee centers were set up. It was horrific at that time, what was going on. But right now, it's pretty clear. I don't know of any of it going on. I don't think the COVID stopped. It had already stopped.
Mike, you had a question?
So Carol, you talked about how they don't, think of houses the way we do, and that, the houses are pretty much non-electrified. Would lighting be an improvement to their lives, where you can have those lightings that, I don't know if you're aware of the gravity lights that don't use power to light houses?
The which lights? No,
It's a gravity light. Basically, at one point during the day, you pull a heavy weight up and it slowly lowers, and that lowering of the weight generates light for the house. I don't know if you've heard of that, or if you think it would be beneficial.
I've never heard about that. Would you be able to let me send you any information on it?
Yeah, sure, of course.
My email is yesuganda@gmail.com. I would love to see what that was about.
Are there any other questions for Carol? Carol, thank you so much. That information was amazing. Thank you for staying up so late and talking to us and telling us your story. Some of us have heard of your story, but some of us haven't. So it's definitely been an enlightenment, and we definitely want to continue to support you in any way we can, and we'll try to see if there's a project or some way we can do, or something we can do to help you out as well.
Well, thank you so much. And once COVID is finished and travel is no longer restricted, I'd love to have visitors come here. I'd really welcome that.
Maybe we can
right now, I can't.
After COVID, and some type of project out there or something. That'd be awesome.
And where I'm living is a tourist attraction. It's gorgeous. The mountains, the mountain climbing, we have glaciers on the top and snow for mountain climbers. We've got monkeys and crater lakes. It's absolutely gorgeous here. Beauty amongst poverty. But if you come, I can aim you towards the tourist directions. So you're certainly
thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you. And thank you again so much for the funds I received just, I think, about 2 weeks ago. I'm so grateful. So thank you so much. You're touching many lives are being helped. Thank you.
And don't forget, guys, Carly put up the button on our website so we can donate to her fund, and it goes straight to her fund. So that's where we can do our donations like we used to do during our meetings. Or if you want to let other people know about her work and what's going on, we can let them know about that link as well. But obviously, any help we can do, we want to get the word out there and make sure that we help her. So I can't believe you've been there, you said 20 years now, 25 years now in Uganda?
I'm in my 25th year, yes.
Yeah, wow.
I left Maui in 1995, arrived here in 96. Yes.
Thank you for your selfless work. You're an amazing woman. We appreciate everything you've done for those children. It's super awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's great to be connected to home. Okay.
You're more than welcome to hang out, but I know you're tired, so you're more than welcome to leave. We won't take it personal as well. We're just got about 10, 15 minutes of some Rotary Club fun stuff to talk about, and that's what's going to happen now.
I think I will say goodnight because it's been a very long day. So I'll say goodnight and leave. Thank you all. Good night to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Or good day to you.
Good day, that's all right.
Yeah, okay, this one.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.